Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
O's man, 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 I pull up in that old jet, hold fast.
Hey guys, hello, what's up? Oh my god, that was awful. Maybe I should redo that intro. I'm not going to though. I'm not going to. I was trying to start like 3 times before this, and excuse me, there's just a lot of noise that rolled by outside, so I was just like, you guys are really fucking me over this morning. But anyways, let me get a little bit of something to drink here. Sorry about that. I had just eaten. I wanted to eat before I started recording, so. Anywho, this is episode 18. Right? This is 18. Android 18. This is episode 18 of the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. I am Kyle HiK-Upp Ruiz. This is the podcast. Welcome, guys. You know the deal. You know the deal. You know the same old. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know long enough. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. Heads up for all the newbies. I tend to ramble a lot when I talk about my topics and whatnot. Sorry about that, but I get really passionate and go on side tangents and side things. La-da-da-da-da-da-da. But today, I didn't bring it up last week, what I was going to be talking about. I did do a Facebook post for the art project page. If you aren't liking the art project page on Facebook, please go do that. Helps me greatly, seeing the support. That's going to be the main hub for the story I'm writing, Another Random Tale. The little comic book idea I have. Hopefully we get started with that 2020, making a demo first draft of the first chapter, actual comic book style. But once I have more information to give out readily, it'll be posted up again readily and easily to catch and digest on the page. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know why I'm trying to say it in a certain way. If you go to the art project page soon enough, we'll have more information about the actual true draft of Another Random Tale. And then we'll have that test first draft chapter out soon, hopefully in 2020. Or at least some new artwork for the characters, for their newer designs, for my latest illustrators. But shameless plug aside, bad shameless plug aside. I usually also post updates on what I'm going to be talking about for the next podcast, when I'm actually recording it, and when it goes up, and all that good stuff. So if you want to be notified of that art project page, I also upload the podcast to the Facebook page. I have it linked to my Podbean, so it'll upload on Facebook and my YouTube channel, which is also called Art Project. Sometimes they don't upload. I think Facebook is missing 2 episodes of the podcast. And then the YouTube is missing 1. I think it's missing episode 16. It's weird. Sometimes they don't upload. I don't know why. But I've also another thing for this is for people who have been around for a while who actually support. The few who do show up and support have the time to. Thank you very much. Also, I just want to give a shout out to that. Because of you guys, this is the reason why I keep doing it. I have a very, 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 very small group of people that tune in every week. Or, whenever they can, check it out, give it a listen, tell me hey, I like this, give me feedback, let me know what I could do, things you would want to hear me talk about, shit like that. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate it. update to you guys. I used to often at the end of every podcast play like music, like either something recent that came out that I really liked, or just something I really like listening to in general, even if it's old. I don't do that anymore just because Facebook and YouTube will tell me, hey, yeah, that's copyrighted me. And I already knew that, and I'm doing the podcast for free, but at the same time, if something happens where the podcast does, take off and get more popular, especially when I do get the chance to get that newer equipment and have a better, more professional setup, I want to take it to the next step. I've said that before. I don't want to have any of those things holding me back, so I just don't have music, that stuff play anymore. I'm thinking hopefully if I can get some friends together with some recording equipment, we can record a song. I am alrightly musically talented in rapping, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. But that's it. That's it for me. Today's topic, though. See, I got off topic trying to bring up today's topic. It'll be a couple of things. I'll try to get through them as many as I possibly can. I didn't try to be specific on even when I announced them, just because I tend to not get through all my topics or situations, whatnot, all in one go sometimes, and sometimes I have to rush parts. So I was just like, I want to talk about a few things, if not all three of these things. So the three things I wanted to talk about, I'll try to get through all three, so let me hurry up. The three things are anime, how anime and manga is still kind of like stereotyped by the general populace, like people outside of the anime community. How I find it really ridiculous that people just still put it in this box. So I brought it up in previous podcasts before, like a way earlier podcast about, how, hey man, be weird. It's cool to be weird. I think that's something along the lines of that's what it's called. It's an early episode about how you should be weird. So I talked about it before, so I might go over that a little less. But I wanted to bring that up again because I still see it as such a big issue, and I have a few more things I wanted to add to it. I also wanted to talk about the topic of overhype in not only the anime community, but in the gaming community, and what exactly I feel like, why I feel like saying things are overhyped is in itself kind of an overhyped thing. Like I feel like overhype is more of an underhype thing, in a sense. I'll get into that, or I'll try to. And the third thing I wanted to talk about, because I saw a post on a little group I'm in on Facebook, and it gave me the idea for the topic, and I didn't want to do a full episode on it, because I feel like I don't have enough to say about it exactly, at least not by myself. I probably have to get another person's perspective too, but it's going to be dating someone who is outside of the nerd community, whether that be anime or video games, mainly anime I want to say, and this kind of relates to the whole idea of the stereotype and stigmas of anime, and the overhype thing. So it kind of all ties in together. Little bits and pieces of it tie in together. And that's why I was just instead of trying to do a video on one of these topics, a podcast on one of these topics, I wanted to do, we'll just talk about all three, or try to talk about all three, and talk about how they interconnect. So those are the topics. Quick little newsy things before we really get into it. I just have one. I just want to go over the recent trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield that came out earlier this week. If you guys have been keeping up to date on the Sword and Shield news, I think it was on the 14th, or even just the 15th, the day before, or maybe even earlier than that. I saw it on the 15th, I believe. I saw it dead ass the day before they announced that there's going to be a Pokemon trailer thing dropping 6 a.m. on the 16th of October. So I was like, oh cool, when I wake up, before I get ready for work and stuff, I'll just watch the trailer really quick. And it was super short. It was not even 2.5 minutes. And the trailer was showing some new Gigantamax forms. If you don't know what Gigantamax is, there's a thing, the new gimmicky mechanic, 6th Gen had Mega Evolution, 7th Gen had Z moves. 8th Gen has a thing called Gigamaxing. And what Gigamaxing does, it empowers your Pokemon and pretty much supersizes them so they become giants, monster, kaiju level kind of height kind of idea, and it powers up all their moves. And they temporarily are this big for a couple of turns. I don't remember if they specifically set how many turns. I think they did. But it powers up their stats, so they're beefier and they hit harder, and they're harder to take out. So, Gigantamaxing is a step further. Gigantamaxing isn't... Gigamaxing every Pokemon can do. So, like I said, if you know about the Pokemon Sword and Shield stuff, you already know about this. Any Pokemon can Gigamax. Gigantamax is a more specific form of Gigamaxing. It pretty much not only supersizes your Pokemon, but it also changes their appearance. So they'll have, like, slightly different designs. They'll look kind of, more ferocious and menacing. It's kind of like Mega Evolution. It turns them into a kaiju, essentially. That's kind of... Like, Gigamaxing makes them big, and I feel like Gigantamaxing is like kaiju mode. Some shit like that, you know what I mean? And they've shown a couple of Gigantamax forms, and they have specific special moves to them. Like, I believe when you Gigamax, like, moves become like of a certain different move depending. But for every Pokemon, like, Gigantamax Pokemon have specific special moves to them, unique to them. And it kind of works how, like, a Z move works. Like, when you use your Z power to do a Z move, say you have, like, the Fire Z crystal, and you use a Fire-type move, it does the Fire-type Z move. But then we knew there were specific Z crystals, like, because I had Incineroar Z, and that let it do its Malicious Moonsault Z move, which is specific to it. That's kind of how, like, Gigantamaxing is. So people have compared Gigantamaxing as, like, a combination of Mega Evolution and Z moves, kind of in, like, this new hybrid idea. And there's still plenty of people not on board, and it's perfectly understandable. People love Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution was heavily popular, and it was just one of those... And it's been around for a minute now, because it came out in 6th gen, and we're on 8th gen. And now we're hearing in 8th gen it's not going to be here, so it was kind of like a well-established thing. Because when did Sun and Moon came out in, like... Or not Sun and Moon, X and Y came out in, like, 2013, 2014? So it's just like, it's been almost 6 years since we saw Mega Evolution. So it's kind of like a well-established thing. Especially in the meta of Pokemon, like, Mega Evolutions are a thing. Like, it got to the point where originally Mega Blaziken was banned from tournament play, and I think it still is. And then when Mega Rayquaza was a thing, they had to make a new tier because Mega Rayquaza was too OP. So they had to make a new tier above the top tier that they already had in the Pokemon tournament rules called Anything Goes. And this is the only way you can use Mega Rayquaza, which is fucking ridiculous. Because Mega Rayquaza was OP. But, back to the topic. We got specific new Gigantamax forms. We got 5 of them. And there's some polarizing opinions on them. Like, a lot of people, like me, I personally liked all the new Gigantamax forms we saw, but I can understand why people have issues. And real quick, I'm just going to talk about the new Gigantamax forms. I'm not going to get too much into detail. You can look up the trailer yourself. It's 2.5 minutes. It's a quick watch. But we got Gigantamax Charizard, Gigantamax Pikachu, Gigantamax Eevee, Gigantamax Butterfree, and Gigantamax Meowth. So all 5 of these Pokemon now have Gigantamax forms. I liked all the Gigantamax designs. Gigantamax Charizard looked fucking dope. Pikachu, Eevee, and Meowth, their Gigantamax forms look fucking dopey stupid, but I love it. I love how fucking dopey dumb they look. Like, Pikachu looks like old school Pikachu Gigantamax. Eevee just looks like a big fluff ball, and Meowth is long as shit. So I know if you're a part of, like, Pokemon memes and stuff like that, you've probably seen the long Meowth meme and the chunk Pikachu. So, there's that. Oh, and the Charizard gets another form memes, of course. So the controversy, one of the main things that people have an issue with the Gigantamax forms, I don't think is the Gigantamaxing itself. I think it's more of the fact that the 5 Pokemon they showed getting Gigantamax forms are all Kanto region Pokemon. So this is seen as more Kanto region pandering. And I can definitely agree with that. Like, it's just like, yeah, you could have done some other Pokemon from some other regions and given them Gigantamax forms. But I will say, in defense of 3 of these Pokemon, I kind of expected something to happen with them. And here's why. The main one that I was like, fucking for sure was going to get pampered and catered to like a while back was Charizard. The champion of the Galar region has a Charizard. We've seen it plenty of times in the trailer. It seems to be this guy's ace, and he's the champion of the Galar region. Why would he have a non-Galar Pokemon be his ace? There has to be something special going on with this non-Galar Pokemon for it to be his ace. Just like how, what's her name, Diantha from 6th Gen, the champion of 6th Gen, her ace was Gardevoir, which is a Hoenn Pokemon, but it had a Mega Evolution. Same thing with that gym leader's Lucario. It had a Mega Evolution, and Lucario was said to be the first Pokemon to Mega Evolve. So it's just like, even though they're not from that region, they have a direct relation to whatever gimmick or special thing is happening in that region. Which is why I was almost for sure that, like, especially when they announced Gigantamax forms, I was like, Charizard's gonna have to get one. There's no reason why this guy would have this Pokemon as his ace, and it wouldn't be able to Gigantamax. That'd be weird, right? Like, he's the champion and he doesn't have a Gigantamax Pokemon, or his ace Pokemon isn't Gigantamax available. So, I expected that one completely. I think its design is fucking fantastic. It looks ferocious, it looks fierce. I do understand why people are just like, fuck, Charizard again? Like, I totally agree, but at the same time, you should have seen it coming. Like, you should have seen it coming. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion, though. If you hate on it, that's different. Like, I understand why people are disappointed. Pikachu and Eevee, I wasn't 100% certain about them, but I felt like just purely due to Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, that something was going to happen with them. Maybe we would get a new Eevee form. Maybe we would get some kind of special moves for them. Maybe there'd be some special bonus if you transfer, like, Eevee or Pikachu from Let's Go into Sword and Shield. Like, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking they were getting Gigantamax forms, but they are getting Gigantamax forms. So, like, it was expected. I wasn't exactly, like, I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't get something, but I'm not surprised that they did. And their Gigantamax forms, specifically, you get them by having save data from Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and that's how you get the specific ones. So, fuck, I wish I had Let's Go Eevee, because I want that Gigantamax Eevee. Maybe I'll try to borrow it off of someone if somebody has Let's Go Eevee. Because let me borrow it real quick, just so I can have some save data on my Switch. Do you have to have the game beaten, though? That's another thing, too. Do you have to have the game beaten, or do you just need save data? Because if you just need save data, I can do that really quick. It's not saying I can't beat a Pokemon game super fast, because I heard Let's Go doesn't take super long to beat, but at the same time I'm playing Dragon Quest. So I'm replaying Dragon Quest 11, so I can't really do that right now. But those are the only ones I can really, like, say there's, like, an excuse or a reason as to why they're there. It's like, yeah, I kind of expected that. With Meowth and Butterfree, that was just kind of random. Like, I was not expecting any sort of like, fucking special catering or pampering to Butterfree, of all Pokemon. When's the last time Butterfree got any special treatment? Butterfree should have got a Mega, honestly, and it didn't, and I was kind of bummed that it didn't. But Gigantamax Butterfree, I think, looks fucking great. If you take the whole Kanto Pokemon thing aside, I think Gigantamax Butterfree's design is fantastic. It's a very simple, basic change in design, but it looks really cool, and I like its Gigantamax move. Gigantamax Meowth, I'm not hating on. Like I said, it looks derpy, but that's why I like it. I like how, like, the smaller Pokemon or the base form Pokemon that are getting Gigantamax forms, their Gigantamax forms don't look as menacing. And then, like, the ones that are fully evolved or, like, look more fierce normally anyway are the ones that look more menacing. Like, Gigantamax Charizard doesn't look derpy. It looks fucking ferocious. Like, imagine if they Gigantamax Pikachu and it looked like a monster. You know what? They could have done that, though. If they had a Gigantamax Raichu, remember how they revealed that Raichu was originally going to evolve into a Pokemon called Gorochu, or something along those lines? What if they reused that design for a Gigantamax Raichu? That would have been interesting. They didn't do that because the whole Let's Go thing, and Raichu's not as popular, and Raichu just got an Alolan form. And I can understand which, like, people are mad about the Charizard thing, but I'm like, at the same time, well, I'm like, at least Charizard didn't already have an Alolan form, too. It didn't have a specific Z move, did it? No, it didn't. didn't have a specific Z move. So, you know, it's at least there was like a 1 region gap between the last time Charizard got catered to. But anywho, that's all I have to say about that. Pokemon Sword and Shield drops in less than a month. It's kind of crazy to think that we're already like almost there to that release. I'm still getting it. I don't know which version I'm getting yet. You can call me a sheep or a shill or whatever. But at the same time, I acknowledge the faults that Sword and Shield looks like it's having and the controversies going on. It's not going to stop me from playing it and seeing for myself if I like the game or not, though. I'm not going to write a game off as being bad before it even comes out. I'm not the type of person to have confirmation bias. You would have to have something blatantly disgusting happen to make me not want to get this. And I don't think the No National thing is blatantly disgusting. I feel like that was just a stupid mistake. I've talked about why I think Game Freak isn't being lazy, but they're just kind of stupid and don't know what they're doing. And they tried to save face. I already talked about that before in a previous podcast. But yeah, that's it for that. Enough with the Pokemon news for this week at least. We might get some more news. Also, one last thing, I'm sorry. People are mad that, so when Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon were doing, you know, their whole press coverage, like their news updates monthly with the Core things, back when 7 Gen was like the big thing out, people were mad that Sun and Moon were revealing too much. And I agree, because I also was in that field of just like, y'all just showing off the whole game before the whole game even comes out. Like, we knew about a bunch of shit before the game even came out. So, even though Sun and Moon had a bunch of extra things you can do, like little side quests and mini adventures and some endgame stuff you could do, it wasn't as exciting because we already knew that stuff was in the game. Like, with the Delta episode, they revealed the Delta episode in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire before the game came out too. But the Delta episode was like, kind of like a big extra story plot. Like, there wasn't like a huge endgame story thing going on in Ultra Sun and Ultra... Well, there was Rainbow Rocket, but Rainbow Rocket wasn't like amazing. So, it was aight, it was whatever. But that's what I mean though. Like, they gave away everything. So you weren't surprised by everything. Rainbow Rocket would have had a bigger impact if we didn't know what it was. Like, they could have teased Giovanni being in the game somehow, but not have given you any more information than that. That would have been perfect. Like, imagine a Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon trailer where at the end, like, oh, cool, that's the trailer, and then it goes black, and then, like, you see Giovanni, like a glimpse of him, and he's doing something. Maybe he's walking towards some place, or, like, he's walking towards the Aether Paradise. He's walking towards the or like on the grounds of the building. And you're like, whoa, why is he there? And they say nothing else about it. So you have to play the game to find out. That would have been cool. We knew what Rainbow Rocket was before the game came out. We knew what it was. We knew he came from like an ultra wormhole from a different world where and then all these villains from different worlds where they succeeded show up. And they make this great... Like, that would have been cool not to know about. The same thing with the ultra wormholes and being able to go to those different worlds and catch all the other ultra beasts. That would have been cooler if you didn't know about it already. So, I'm glad Sword and Shield is doing the opposite. They reveal cool little bits and information and things like this, but they haven't given away too much, and I'm glad they haven't. But now people are bitching that they're giving away too little, which I think is silly, because you guys were just saying in 7 Gen that they're giving away too much. Now they're giving away too little? They've given away just enough information. We don't need to know anything else. You know how you find out everything else? You play the game. Like, people are like, man, they haven't even showed the starter evolutions. I'm personally glad they haven't showed the starter evolutions. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. It's like, I'm not going to be mad if, you know, we're a month away. The way they've been giving out information, we're bound to have at least maybe one more trailer before the game launches, maybe like a week or two before the game comes out. We get that one last trailer to hype everyone up to buy the game. I wouldn't be surprised if they revealed the starter evolutions in that trailer or something else pertaining to the story, but I hope they don't. This is the first time in like a long fucking time we haven't had starter evolutions revealed to us before the game drops. And I think that's cool because people, I guess, base what starter they're going to pick off the evolutions too, but I'm just like, that kind of spoils the fun of the adventure, man. Just pick one and see what you get. Like, come on, bro. Be hype. Be hype. Like, I'm not the Sun and Moon controversy or Sword and Shield controversy aside. Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, they both start with S and shit. But I feel like like Pokemon games are super spoily, and people have kind of like grown deterred from that. But now because we're suddenly not getting a lot of information, maybe that's like it's too sudden of a shift. So people are like, "Whoa, but they're barely showing anything." But I kind of prefer it this way. I kind of like the idea of not knowing. So hopefully within this month we don't get the starters spoiled. But if we do, it's whatever. We still haven't had a lot of information revealed. So I think in terms of like updates, Game Freak has done a good job not showing too much. Okay. Pokemon aside, I wasn't expecting to talk about Pokemon that long. Let's get on to what I wanted to discuss. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about is, briefly, the whole thing with stereotypes still being like a big thing for people looking at the anime community from the outside. I find it really strange, and I brought it up before on the podcast, I said that already, but how is it that this is still a thing? And I see it a lot, and I see different reasons, and I find the reasons, like, ridiculous. Like, one of the big things I always bring up to people who, I don't want to say don't watch anime, because I know people that don't watch anime that have actual reasons why they don't really prefer anime, and more power to them. That's their life. But I'm talking about people that, like, hate anime because of, like, certain stigmas or stereotypes they have on it. People that are ignorant to anime I see this from people that are ignorant to anime all the time. They will hate on people for watching anime or getting really emotionally invested in an anime or any kind of animated show in general, so to speak, because they'll say like, oh, it's just, like a cartoon, or, oh, it's just animated, these characters aren't real, and you're getting really emotional, you're getting all overexcited, or sad, or angry about stuff. It's not real, they're just animated. But people will do that about shows like Game of Thrones, or Supernatural. I love Supernatural. I love a lot of, like, live-action television, but that's my thing. Live-action television is very similar to anime. Like, anime has different genres. I brought this up before. We have different genres besides, like, shonen. We have romance. We have sports. We have comedy. You have, like, the harems. You have dramas. There's a lot of different genres for anime. Like, not every anime fan likes all the same anime. There's magical girl anime. That's a very specific genre. Magical girl, like, that's a genre. Like, or the shoujo genre in general. So, it's just like, anime isn't just like, every anime is the same kind of thing. No, you go into anime and there's these different genres and subgenres and specifics. It's just like watching TV, like with real actors just acting out scenes. And my argument is, well, you guys get really emotional over shit like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, riding over that last season. I'm not a Game of Thrones hater. I've just never had the chance to watch it because we didn't have HBO. Now that Game of Thrones is over, I'll probably, hopefully soon, one day, I'll get a chance to, like, start it and, like, just binge through it. Because I'm not a Game of Thrones hater. I just never got the chance to watch it. So, that's just me. But, people got emotional about that show all the time. Like, my girlfriend loves that show. And my girlfriend's not an anime hater. She's just not in the anime. That's just a different thing. But she understands that they have those different genres. She understands that they can bring out different emotions in people due to different things. She gets that. She's just not into that specific form of medium. And that's fine. That's her. She is into Sailor Moon. I will say that. She does like Sailor Moon. But that, different niches, different people. What I'm going into is, like, people will get emotional over that, but that's okay because it's not animated? No, it's the same thing. Those people aren't real. These are characters in a story. Game of Thrones, the actors in Game of Thrones are portraying fake people in a fictional story, in a fictional world, based from a book series about fictional people in a fictional world. At the end of the day, you're watching fiction. Like, so you telling me I'm getting too emotional over an anime because these people aren't real is very hypocritical, because You're watching shows with people that are not real. The only difference is mine is animated and yours is live action, which is stupid. The whole point of television is to entertain. It's to bring out emotions in people. It's to make people think. It's to make people laugh or cry or get upset or have some form of emotional response. You're supposed to have some kind of bond or relation to the storytelling and to the characters because that's what good writing is, regardless of what form it's in. So, and it's weird because if you try to break it down to people like that, not as like, not exactly how I said it, but, you know, I'll tell them it's just, because, okay, example, I've had several people who are anime haters who like stereotype anime say, like, I don't get it, man, like, it's just a cartoon, it, like, da-da-da, this and that, they're not real, how can you get so emotional over them? And it's just like, okay, dude, well, you watch Supernatural, right? And we were both fans of Supernatural. This is a long time ago. This is like high school. I had this conversation with this person. I haven't talked to this person since high school. But I remember this conversation. And he's like, well, I'm like, you watch Supernatural, right? He's like, yeah, dude, we talk about Supernatural all the time. Da-da-da-da, this and that. And I'm like, well, you get emotional over Supernatural, right? Like, we've talked about episodes that have had us sad or pissed off. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, how is that different from me getting emotional over an anime? His only defense is that anime is animated. So, because the people are animated, they have less value. But that's such a weird argument for me because at the end of the day, all these people are not real. Like, none of these people are real. The people in the anime are not real. The people in the live-action show are not real. Well, there's actors portraying the people, so portraying these characters. So there's voice actors portraying the animated characters. They're all actors in a show. That is fiction. That is not real. Your only defining difference is one is animated and one is not. But that's not big enough of a difference for me to say that I shouldn't have some kind of emotional impact from anime. If the anime's goal is to do that, then they succeed. And I feel like another big reason why people see that is because they think all anime is just like shonen. And that's a stupid thing to think. Not all anime is shonen. Like I said, there's several different genres. What are you into? Are you into sports? You can watch sports. Are you into romance? There's romance anime. Are you into comedy? There's plenty of comedy anime. There's plenty of like slice of life shows. Like, there's genres that you can get into that are similar to the taste that you're into for live-action shows. So I don't understand. Like, and I was listening to the Black Hokage yesterday. I was listening to, like, some little podcast clips he had, and he posted his podcast episode on YouTube earlier. Black Hokage is a great content creator. You guys should check him out. He does a lot of Twitch streams, too, so you should go ahead and follow him on Twitch. Funny dude, cool dude, smart dude, knows the business well. He's been working into the gaming community and streaming and networking and marketing like that for years. But he was saying one way he's gotten people into anime, this is me just paraphrasing what he said. This isn't exactly word for word for what he said. Is find what they're interested in and then recommend an anime based on that interest. Like he was telling a story about how he used to date this one girl and she thought anime was stupid. She was like, it's just cartoons and anime is for losers. And he was like, well, she's into like a lot of psychological thriller kind of stuff. So she got her to watch Death Note and she got hooked on Death Note because of that. So I feel like a lot of the time, one of the big reasons why people who hate on anime hate on it from ignorance is because they think every anime is exactly the same. And that's just not the case. There's, like I said, different subjects. So if you have someone who's like hating on anime, think about what they're interested in, ask what shows they like to watch, and then based on the genre or subject matter of whatever shows they like to watch, recommend an anime very similar to that. And that's how you get them into it. And if they're not feeling it still, then whatever, they're not feeling it. But at least they now have an understanding that anime in itself is a bigger community than just this shonen action, fan servicey hentai kind of thing. And I just wanted to talk about that because I was listening to that podcast, the Black Hokage's podcast, and it's just like that's very fucking true. Like it's like a lot of the time it does come from a place of ignorance. You have to inform people. You can't just be like, okay, whatever, nigga, fuck you, or get like too mad about it or too emotional. They don't understand. They don't know. And anime is dope. So, I don't know. That's if your only argument for hating on anime or thinking people are crazy for like getting that into anime is that it's just a cartoon, it's just like, well, your shows are just shows at the end of the day. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't watch TV or any of those shows and thinks all that shit is stupid, that's just a kind of you thing. But at the same time, I feel like you wouldn't really be listening to my podcast if that was the case. So I don't know why I'm like referring to these types of people. But what was the next thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, Overhype. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Like, I didn't have too much to add on from what I had before. I just wanted to give that example, bring up the whole Black Hokage thing that I was listening to, talk about that, you know. Get people to understand that there's so much more than what's on the surface for a lot of things. A lot of people kind of stereotype a lot of things they're not into. Like when you're on the outside looking in, it's easy to judge. And you gotta at least try. You gotta dip your toes in, you know. Find what you like. Find your niche. Find your shit. But I want to go back in something that's in the anime community and the gaming community and the movie community and the nerdosphere in general. And that's the subject of Overhype. We live in an age of technology where shit is just overhyped. And that's just the way it is. We have TV commercials. We have ads play on like Hulu or Crunchyroll or YouTube that show us these trailers. Even on Facebook, you're surfing Facebook and like, you know, those Facebook pages like Funimation and other anime sites, they show trailers for movies and things like that, and games and anime coming out. It's hard to avoid the hype. Like, you know, you go on YouTube and people have speculation videos. People have like inside sources and news updates about this and that. You can't avoid these things anymore. Like, the only way you could avoid this stuff is if you literally cut yourself off from social media, and the only way you watch shows was you just went straight onto Netflix, straight onto Hulu, and ignored whatever. You just had ad-free stuff for everything, Crunchyroll, YouTube, and you just did not pay attention to any advertising or marketing. You'd look up, and I feel like that'd be difficult, but that'd be doable, but that's just like you going out of your way to avoid it. If you live like the average person's life and go out into the world, you're not going to be able to avoid this kind of stuff anymore. We're going into 2020. It's only going to get more intense the way like things get hyped up. Excuse me, took a sip of the coffee. But hype isn't inherently a bad thing. You want to get hyped up for stuff. That's the whole point of marketing, to get you hyped up for a certain thing. So you buy a product like a game, or you go to the movies and buy a ticket to watch the movie, or you tune in and watch a show, or you pay a subscription fee for a video service to watch specific anime or TV shows or whatever you want to watch. That's the whole point of hype. It's to get you to buy stuff. It's to get you to tune in. It's marketing. It's to make that money. But now we've gotten to the point where things are always hyped and things are always being advertised, that everything starts to feel overhyped and disappointing. Like you get into the hype, you get sucked in, this and that and this, and then the product is released and you play it or you watch it or something like that, and you come out disappointed because it's just like, oh, this wasn't nearly as good as I thought it was going to be. And then a lot of people feel the same way, and then boom, that thing is overhyped. But here's my issue with the whole idea of overhype nowadays. I feel like a lot of people use the term whenever they're disappointed in something, but want to just go in and say that just because something wasn't as good as you thought it was going to be, or you're disappointed in something, doesn't mean it was necessarily overhyped. I feel like, especially with how media works nowadays, overhype is perceived by how you personally were perceiving it and how you actually experienced it, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's always what hype has been in general, like, well, that's a you thing. But, to get more specific, Jump Force was not an overhyped game. I don't think it was. Before it came out. This is what I'm talking about. The whole marketing before it came out. People were excited because it was an anime game, so the anime community and the gaming community that also liked anime was seeing the trailers and stuff for it. They were excited, but no one was like really like, yo, this is gonna be the greatest fucking game ever. I saw very few people saying that. People were, critiquing the demos and the betas and whatnot, and going over this and that. And they're like, yeah, but it's fun, this da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we also went in knowing that it wasn't really going to be like a balanced fighter. The whole point of the game was to entertain, to play as your favorite anime characters, to make a character, and use moves from your favorite anime characters. This and that and this. So, it was one of those things where it wasn't overhyped. I feel like Jump Force, was perfectly, hyped. Everyone was just like, yeah, I'll probably pick it up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this and that. No one was like, yo, this is gonna be the greatest fucking experience ever. It wasn't overhyped and then leading to immediate disappointment. There were people that were overhyping themselves for the game, though, specifically. Me, I brought this up before. I fucking overhyped myself for Jump Force. I don't know why I did. I really don't. To this day, I still don't understand how I did that to myself. I'm usually really good at not overhyping myself for something, looking at all the information, thinking of all the negatives and the positives, just from, what we've seen from gameplay or gotten from information. Like the whole Pokemon thing. I'm still excited for Pokemon, but I understand, some of the issues that are going on with Sword and Shield and what's going to happen, but I'm still excited and hopeful for its release. I'm not overhyped for it. But with Jump Force, for some reason, I was like, yo, this shit's gonna be fucking awesome. I'm so fucking excited for this. This and that, I was, and I don't know why I did that to myself. I really fucking don't. And I bought the Ultimate Edition of Jump Force. Why the fuck did I do that? I still, to this day, do not fucking know. That was reckless. That was hella fucking reckless. And I did that to myself. And when I played the game, I was so overhyped. I overhyped myself so hard for the game as I was playing through the game. I was trying so hard to find reasons to like that game. I was trying hard to like that game, bro. Hard as shit. I was just like, oh, it was good. And then eventually when I beat the story, I was just like, oh my god, I fucking hated that. I was trying to justify my $100 purchase. Yes, $100 purchase, because I bought the Ultimate Edition of the game. Why did I do that? Because I'm fucking stupid. But that game bummed me out. Now, if you like Jump Force and you think it's great, more power to you. The thing I'll say about Jump Force that I like, it is fun to play. It is. I think it's pretty fun to play. I have a good time playing it. When I'm playing, just randomly bullshitting around playing, it is fun and enjoyable to play with your friends, fuck around with your favorite anime characters. If you're treating it as a competitive game, don't, because it's not fucking balanced. It's very unbalanced. There's a lot of errors and glitchiness with it. It feels a little rough in the combat sometimes. It's just a fun party fighter. So, what I'll say for people, Jump Force was not worth the Ultimate Edition $100. It just wasn't. It's been almost a year, and we still don't have all the DLC. Sorry, another sip of the coffee. And that's not, it's just there's no excuse for that. This isn't Smash Bros. Level fucking greatness. I'm sorry, it's just not. But, fuck, where is it? Yeah, it wasn't worth the $100. I don't think it was even worth $60 for the base game. I haven't played it recently. A new update just came out that gave new costume pieces and new skills, so maybe it'll feel a little better if I reinstall it and try it out and just, like, maybe see how I feel about it now. But, before, like, a lot of the patches, I think I stopped playing after, like, 1 or 2 patches. At that point, when I uninstalled it, I was like, this is like a $20 pickup. And I would tell that to people online when people were talking about it in the group. Should I get Jump Force? What do you guys think about Jump Force? And I was like, honestly, bro, it feels like a $20 fan-made game. Like, it feels like, I feel like if this was like a fan-made project and it was like $20, like, this would have been cool as shit. Like for a fan-made project, like, that's awesome. But for a full $60 title? No. And maybe I'll feel differently when I reinstall it, but as of now, I wouldn't pay more than $30 for it. I would argue you should only pay $20, but I wouldn't pay more than $30 for it. So, yeah, and that's just a prime example of just, I overhyped that. No one hyped me up to do that. There was no big, over crazy hype for any of that. There just wasn't. That was my fault. My fault. And even if something is overhyped, just in the community, it's still your fault if you end up buying it. You burned yourself. But like that's how I feel a lot of people are now with games in general. Because there's even like games that are like critically acclaimed that people fucking hate. They go trash. Like Fighters. I was talking about Fighters last week, and Fighters is fucking fantastic. It's a fantastic fighting game. It brought in fans of like the FGC and fans of Dragon Ball together. Fighters is one of like the main things that plays at EVO. Like, it's a fucking big deal. Like, Fighters blew up because Fighters is a good game. There are people that fucking hate Fighters. I've seen it. People fucking think Fighters is trash. People are like, Xenoverse 2 is so much better. I'm like, from a technical standpoint, like objectively, like gameplay-wise, no, not at all. Like, if we're talking about which game is the better game and better accomplishes, like, fighting mechanics and battling it out, Fighters, 100,000%. 100,000%. Fighters has issues, don't get me wrong, but to say Fighters is a bad game is stupid! And, this also goes into, like, the whole idea of, like, you value something how you value something. Like, you get whatever enjoyment you get out of something. And I think that also is what leads to hype and overhypage, because there's people that fucking love Jump Force, but objectively, Jump Force is flawed. People are just like, y'all just want it to be this competitive thing, this and that. And I'm like, that's not Jump Force's main problem. I understand Jump Force is supposed to be competitive. There's a lot of other issues with Jump Force. While some of the textures for those graphics in that game look really nice, like, some shit looked ugly. Like, upon release, I thought Goku's gi looked really fucking good. Like, his outfit, like, his clothing looked really nice. You could see, like, nice little details of the fabric and this and that. Goku looked fucking hideous. Like Goku's face was terrifying. His outfit looked great, but them trying to make the anime characters look, like, real was weird. Because they did it, like, in this way, it's just like, what if the anime characters were in the real world? But what if they still had their exact anime character features? So it's like Goku has, like, this anime face, but it's supposed to have, like, this realistic texture and graphics to it, and it fucking looks awful. His face looks like a shitty, action figure for Dragon Ball Z you would find in, like, a 99-cent store. That's how it looked. And that's how a lot of the characters looked, and it was terrifying. But like, their clothes, like, the textures and stuff of the outfits looked really good. And some of the particle effects looked really weird. There's a lot of glitchiness in battles. There was no rematch function at launch, which is fucking stupid, especially for a game like this, where if you want to have mindless fight or, like, a party fight, you can't do that. The game wasn't advertised as competitive, so it was just like, cool, we'll just get together with friends. There's no fucking lobbies. I'm pretty sure there's no lobbies for the game to just make a room to fight with your friends. The story mode is abysmal. People will argue, it's like, well, the game's not for this. But for story mode, this and that. I'm like, okay, true, but if you're going to make a story mode, at least make the story mode decent. Xenoverse and Xenoverse 2 story mode aren't fucking mind-blowing, but they're decent. I have a good time playing those story modes. Xenoverse and Xenoverse 2. Xenoverse 2 more so, but they weren't bad stories. They weren't great stories, but they weren't bad stories. And the argument stands still that, like, just because the story's bad doesn't mean the game's bad. Fighter story is fucking awful. Like, Dragon Ball Fighter story mode is not good, but at the same time, it doesn't really hurt the game that much, because the core gameplay at the end of the day is really great. And then people are like, well, fighting game stories are usually bad. I'm like, nah. Blaze Blue storyline is pretty great. It's pretty ridiculous and stupid, and you have to play the whole thing exactly or you won't understand anything, but I have fun with that dumb mess. But yeah, anywho, I still count that as a flaw with it, regardless. I still count that as a flaw with fighters. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily, like, make a game bad, but it does add on to a negative. It does add a negative. That story mode is bad. You couldn't originally skip cutscenes. They update that later. And, like, a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about does get updated later, but it should have been there for the jump. Like, you should have been had a rematch feature. We should have been able to skip cutscenes. What else? The load times. Oh my god. Oh. And I know the load times have definitely improved for Jump Force. People have been talking about that. People are like, it could be better, but it's still a lot better from what it was before. The load times were awful. So if you lost a fight in story mode and wanted to retry, you had to wait for that shit to load up. If you restarted a fight, you had to wait for that shit to load up. It was boring. The character designs for the villains, for the not the main last villain, but like the two villains that you see throughout the Jump Force story mode, they were alright. They were set to be playable characters in the game, and they weren't their DLC that got added on later. Though their DLC was free, I believe it was, right? They said it was free, right? Or did you have to pay? I got them regardless just because I got the season pass, so even if they weren't free, I'm sure they were a part of the season pass. But I'm pretty sure the villains from the Jump Force story, like all three, because they're adding the main villain too, I think they're free. But they weren't in the game initially, which I thought was weird, because it's like, why the fuck not? There wasn't anything too broken about fighting them. Like, maybe the last villain, I could see why they took a minute before they add him, like the last main villain. But, like, the two other ones that you fight throughout the story, they're not, like, super overpowered. Like, besides, like, the artificial intelligence challenge of, like, broken, AI, like fighting a CPU. But, yeah, that was a thing, because people expected them to be in the initial roster. Because they didn't announce them as DLC add-ons at first. They were just like, yeah, they're going to be playable. And then they weren't. And then they were later. But it was just like, why didn't you just say that? It's like, their marketing was a little weird on certain things. The DLC's taking forever to come out. The game still has a lot of bugs during battle. This is coming from me, who has just seen videos and heard people that still play Jump Force to this day still complain about it. There's a lot of issues with Jump Force besides the fact that it's not a competitive fighter. If you're just playing it for the fun of it, the customization could be a lot better. You cannot customize colors for outfits. There's just alternate colors of outfits, but you have to purchase them. Money is kind of hard to come by in this game. I don't have a problem with grinding for money to buy something, but if I buy a costume piece, I should just be able to change its color to whatever the fuck I feel like. If you buy a hoodie, and it's a red hoodie, you should be able to change it to whatever fucking color you feel like. You shouldn't then have to be like, oh, well, I want a black hoodie. Now I have to save up money to buy a black hoodie. That's fucking dumb. I should just be able to buy the costume piece and change it to whatever color I want. There's plenty of costume pieces. That's plenty of money grinding still. But now you just added on this artificial bullshit by having me have to buy alternate colors for alternate things. I also can't see how the costume piece looks before I buy it. Like, how it will look on my character. So, like, the color that I pick might not necessarily be the best color that I want. And then it comes out looking bad, and I don't want it on my character anymore, and I wasted my money. One thing I will say that I liked is that every skill that you get in Jump Force, like every attack from other people, you buy in the skill shop. So you do have to grind, but you buy in the skill shop. One thing I hate about Xenoverse, and I've said this before, is the fucking RNG drops on side missions on the parallel quest to get skills. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I would just rather a big-ass store where you can buy all the skills. Even if the skills are super expensive, at least all I'd have to do is save enough money to buy the moves I wanted. And then when it was time to skill collect, I just grind up some money and buy the skills I want and be done with it. I hate playing the same parallel quest 87 times to get one attack. Oh my god. So Jump Force, I will applaud you for that. That was something initially you did that I really enjoyed. The character customization other than that is okay. It could have definitely been a lot better. People were like, it's better than Xenoverse's. No, it's not. Hard pass. There's a lot more freedom with customizing characters in Xenoverse, I would say. There's certain aspects that are a little better than Xenoverse's, like certain customization aspects for like characters like facial features, honestly. But other than that, not really. There's just a lot more variety of customization in terms of skills and with costumes. And I feel like there's no excuse for that to be like a thing, because Xenoverse is just Dragon Ball stuff, and while it is just the Dragon Ball verse, don't get me wrong, it's big. You got Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball Online stuff. There's like a lot of stuff in the Dragon Ball verse, but at the same time, that's one anime, whereas with Jump Force, you have several animes. So you should have like this big fucking well of untapped content from all these different shows that you could use to get ideas and things from to improve on your customization in general. They added 3 new skills? That's it? Do you know how many moves you could add? Do you know how many costume pieces you could add? And again, this is something that could have been added from the jump. Now this is just a Jump Force like hate video or podcast, sorry, but I felt like one thing that Jump Force could have done that really would have helped it is, characters that didn't make it into the game, like playable characters like the rest of the Yu Yu Hakusho team, like Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama, they should have had more costume pieces based on their characters. And they do that. There's certain characters that aren't in the game where you can get their equipment. You can get like certain costume pieces for them, which is cool, which is something that I like. Good job on them for that. But you should have also done that with the skills. I feel like just the characters not being in the game, their skills maybe should have still been available. Like, even though, like, let's say, I'm going to use Kuwabara because Kuwabara is my favorite character. As an example, like, Kuwabara's not in Jump Force. It'd be cool to still be able to buy his skills from the store. Like maybe you could still buy, like, Spirit Sword or Spirit Fly Swatter or Jigen Toad and shit like that. That'd be cool. Hiei's not in the game. Hiei is a fan favorite, so I don't understand why he's not in the game. He was also in J-Stars before, so I don't understand why he's not in the game. But people still would have loved to buy Dragon of the Darkness Flame for their character. There's little things they could have done to make their game so much more better, like so much more enjoyable and give it more value and replayability, if that makes sense. So enough with that Jump Force rant. Enough with the overhyping thing. You get what I was saying with the hype thing. But one thing that relates to the whole stereotype thing and the hype thing is this last thing I'm going to touch up on, and that's the whole idea of dating someone outside of, like, the anime, gaming, nerd community in general. And I can say that I kind of have that situation, but I feel like I'm lucky to have, like, a girlfriend and, like, be in a relationship where the person understands my hobbies and what I like and my interests. But I want to talk about the whole subject of dating someone who is outside of the nerd community, because I feel like people think it's impossible, and I don't think it's impossible. So this whole idea for a subject came up because I saw a Facebook post. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast. I saw a Facebook post in the anime group I'm in, where, what did she say? It was like some kind of joke about, like, them not liking anime and you tried it, and it was like, how can you date someone that doesn't like anime? And people in the comments were saying, like, I tried to date them, they didn't get it, or I can't date anyone that doesn't like anime. It's ridiculous. It's impossible. And it's just like, it's not impossible, because although I have said, yes, my girlfriend does like Sailor Moon, she's not like a super like anime fan. She likes Sailor Moon, but like she likes Sailor Moon. That's like a hood nigga saying they like Dragon Ball Z, but they don't like other anime. They're like Dragon Ball Z. But what I'm getting at is it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible to be in a relationship with someone who's not into anime or video games for that matter in general, because my girlfriend personally isn't, and we've been together for almost a decade. It'll be 10 years in May, so it's just like, I beg to differ on that. And even if we were to break up, we wouldn't be breaking up. God forbid we break up. Oof. Let me not put them bad vibes in the air like that. Knock on wood. But it wouldn't be because of my interest in anime or my interest in video games. We have a lot to deal with in life. And anime and video games are the last thing on the list. It wouldn't be my interest that caused our relationship to drift apart, unless my interest became like something of a negative thing. Like if I wasn't like working and I just sat on my ass all day reading manga and playing video games, that'd be a different thing. But that's not the fault of the video games or the manga. That's the fault of me being lazy. But you get what I'm saying. But that's not the case. I work and I have other hobbies, like I do the podcast and I write and I want to do stuff and make something out of myself. So, but I think the whole thing with dating someone outside of the nerd community is just you both being mature enough to understand that you have differences or different tastes and different interests, and just being over that shit. It's as simple as that. Like, my girlfriend likes to draw, and she likes makeup and art. She draws really, like, abstract-y kind of things in arts. Not always abstract, but, like, she likes that weird creativeness, that weird flow, the different things like that. She likes to think outside of the box when she draws, is what I'm saying. And it's cool. It's cool. I like the way she draws. I'm not as into stuff of that nature. She's also actually really into art. Like, she went to school, goes to school and studies, like, art history and things like that. I don't know if she still wants to, but she told me a few years back that she wanted to be a museum curator. She likes art a lot. I am not into art like that. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I don't get into the finer details of it because it doesn't intrigue me like that. But that's okay. We can still find a middle ground and just appreciate and respect each other's interests. But that's more of a career thing, because I like to write, and she likes to draw, so that's just a different thing. Me liking anime and games and deciphering stories and all that kind of thing with, like, the hobby, like, the interest that I have, like, how I express so deeply in the podcast, is more like her interest in makeup. And I feel like it's funny because, think about it like this, guys. For all my anime nerd people, my nerd dudes out there, think about it like this. Say, like, you like a girl, but she doesn't really like anime or manga or anything. Think about what she's interested in. Maybe most girls are interested in makeup. And it's funny because dudes will, like, oh, always wearing that makeup, you look prettier without it, this and that. I feel like a lot of the time, especially knowing my girlfriend and my girlfriend's friends, funny enough, who I actually introduced her to, like, her two best friends are people that I met before she did. And it's like, I met them through other friends, but they were my friends first. But, like, they have this super close bond, and they have, like, this best friend unity, and I love that about them. I'm glad they get to hang out. I'm glad she has, like, those cool, close friends. But, like I said, hanging out with them because I hang out with, the dudes in their life. We'll hang out, they'll hang out, we'll all have these group hangout events. They don't wear makeup just to look pretty. Like, of course they do. Like, the goal of makeup is to have this beautiful look. But it's also to do other things. Like, a lot of people and a lot of women in the makeup industry and the cosmetic industry and all that stuff in general, see it as a form of art, like an art form. And look outside looking in, again, bringing that up again, it may not seem that way, But my personal experience with, like, being around them a lot, especially over the last few years, and seeing that, it definitely is an art form. Like, it definitely is something you can be talented in, like, really talented in and really creative. Like, my girlfriend will show me, like, these pages she follows on Instagram with all these girls doing, like, these crazy makeup ideas for different ways to wear makeup, making different designs and incorporating it into, like, the beauty of a whole, like, makeup routine. I don't know all the terms, but you get where I'm coming from. You get where I'm going with this whole thing. They see it as something deeper. So, like, the whole joke of, like, who you wearing that makeup for? Like, they're wearing it for them fucking selves. They like doing it. Like, who are you watching anime for, nigga? Yourself. Like, they're different things completely, but it's the same kind of idea of, like, you do it because you like it. You do it because you're into it. You do it because you're passionate about it. So, I think the thing that a lot of couples have to think about when they have this situation, like, if you're a man and your girlfriend's not into, like, anime, or if you're a woman, because this happens to women too. I think the post, that Facebook post I saw was made by a woman talking about how can you date someone who doesn't watch anime. If you're a woman and, like, you like a guy or dating a dude who doesn't like anime, I think the thing you have to figure out is, are you guys mature enough to be in this relationship? Is this really going to be the thing that makes it impossible for you to date? Because while, like, being a part of the nerd community and anime community is a big part of people's lives, mine included, definitely mine included, especially since I love to write stories, it's inspiring. At the same time, you're a person and you have needs, you want to be in a relationship, and if you really like that person that much and want to work towards something, then this shouldn't be an issue, period. Like, this should not be a problem if you and this other person, you and your significant other, are in a relationship and you really are vibing off each other and you really have love and you see this being a long-term thing. One of you guys liking anime and one of you guys not liking anime is not a problem and should not be a problem. I've seen posts about, you know, people trying to get their boyfriend or girlfriend into anime and what do you guys recommend? And it goes back to what I was saying before with people who are ignorant to anime and, like, stereotype it. Put them onto something that relates to, like, subjects or topics they're interested in and put them onto that anime and see how they feel about it. You can't just make them watch what you like, because which anime you like or genres you like might not necessarily be what they like. I like shonen. I'm a shonen fanboy. I like all genres of anime, but I'm a shonen fanboy. My girlfriend's not really going to like shonen. She's not that kind of person. But I also like slice of life stories. I love comedy stuff. I love music related anime. Like Beck Mongolian Chop Squad is within my top 10 favorite anime of all time. And that's stuff she might be able to get into because it's more grounded in reality with more realistic characters. Not to say that she doesn't like fantasy. My girlfriend does like Game of Thrones. But like I said, different subjects, different things. And you have to figure that out. Also, if that's the case and they just aren't feeling it, then they just aren't feeling it. And you guys should be able to move past that because he or she might have something they're really passionate about or interested in that you're not. I'm not invested in the makeup community, which is the whole cosmetic community. That's a community. And they have a lot of drama going on in their community. It's crazy. But they're a full-fledged community, just like how the anime community is. Two completely different communities, but the same idea. You get it. People are very passionate about something and have formed bonds with other people who are also very passionate about their thing and form a big group and community. There's a toxic community in the cosmetic and makeup community. My girlfriend has told me about it. We argue about which community has a more toxic population in it, anime or makeup and cosmetics. And it's funny because we relate in that way, even though at the same time these are two completely different worlds. And that's another thing. You can find a middle ground. Like, you guys think, oh, she don't like anime, I can't date her. I'm like, that's stupid. Do you like her? Like, do you really? If that's a deal breaker for you, then you really don't like that girl that much. Because I think about, like, man, my girlfriend doesn't like, if I broke up with my girlfriend just because she didn't like anime, That'd be stupid. I have mad love for my girl. I love my girlfriend deeply, 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 deeply. So, me breaking up with her because she liked anime, that would just mean I didn't really love her like I say I do. It's weird. You can bond. Like, one thing I tell my girlfriend, and I've told my girlfriend before, like, when we talk, when we've had our issues, because, you know, differences come up, this and that, different hobbies, different interests. One thing I've said, and I think is really real, is the idea that opposites do attract. You can't... It's okay to have people who think exactly the same as you, who are in the same things, in that same world. That's how you make friends and bonds and form communities. But I feel like it's also unhealthy not to have people in your lives with different viewpoints or different opinions or different interests, because then you stay in a bubble. You stay in a bubble and you can't get out of that bubble. There's a lot of people in the anime community who are also into different things and into other communities. There are girls in the anime community who are also in the makeup and cosmetic community and apply anime-like things to their makeup. There are people in the anime community and are into like sports, like football or basketball or baseball or something like that. There's animes for that. They're actually in the sport. They actively play it. They know the players. They know the teams. They know the science to the sport. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be outside of the box sometimes. You can't just be in this bubble and have everyone within your space be in that same bubble, because then you never leave and you have this single-minded thing. And that's how you become, like, I feel like that's how, like, toxic fan bases and, like, elitism in different communities is born. It's because they don't escape from that world or have people around them that aren't a part of that world. They just stay in that one place. And then they don't explore anywhere else, and that's weird to me. With like that's why I like writing, because with writing there's so many things to write about, like fiction, nonfiction, science fiction, fantasy, music, poetry, plays, movies, television, manga, anime, comic books. There's a lot of things to tap into in that world that interrelate to other things. So I'm always interested in getting to know other people who are into other things, because I like storytelling and I like realism, and even in fiction. So I try to get out of my comfort zone when I can. I'm a very hermit type person, but whenever I can get out of my comfort zone and try something different or learn something different from someone else, I do try to understand and listen. And what I was getting at is, with opposites attracting, is that you want some kind of opposite to the things you're interested in, because you get a different viewpoint. You understand it from a different angle. You learn information that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. And that's how I feel my relationship has been with my girlfriend. We've bonded because we're so different, but we have a similar soul, so to speak. We have very different interests. You know what I mean? Like, I've already brought it up. Very different people in terms of, like, our interests and our hobbies and things we like. But I feel like personality-wise and, like, the way we perceive certain things happening and the way we talk about things and discuss and joke around, we're very much the same soul. So it is an opposite attract thing, but we bond because we have relatable things that happen to us in our different, like, spheres of living. Like, it's hard to explain, but you get where I'm coming from. It's like, I'm on one side of the world, she's on the other side of the world, so it's like a different kind of cultural shock, but there's so many similarities in terms of just, like, being a human being and just living your life, and I feel like we relate because of that. Like, the differences help us have these relatable stories. It's just like, I'll bring up a story about something that happened in the anime community, and that could be similar to something that happened to her in her makeup community, or, like, something with art and things like that in her little group. And it's, like, different stories, but kind of, like, similar, like, ways of interpreting the story. Like, we see it in the same kind of style. It's just like, oh, well, fuck them. Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, no, this is cool. No, this happened to me, so this is cool. And we relate because of that, and we're telling different stories, and we're learning different information off of each other. And I think that's what makes our relationship so strong and so healthy, is that we're not always up on each other because we have different hobbies and interests. So whenever we hang out, we just talk about our days, we just talk about things we experience, and we learn more about each other because of that, and we joke around and laugh and have a good time. I'm not saying be polar opposites, Because then, if you're, like, completely fucking different, then you have nothing to relate or talk about. But opposites do definitely attract, and to an extent and to a degree. You just have to find that right balance. And I'm not saying you can't date someone in the nerd community. There's plenty of people that do it, and they have these crazy, cool nerd weddings that they both agreed on with anime or comic themes or game themes, and they have kids, and they have a good old life. That happens plenty of times. But what I'm saying is, you can have it the other way, too. You can be different and still have, like, a beautiful relationship. I wouldn't change my relationship with my girlfriend for the world. Like, if I had the opportunity to make it so that my girlfriend was, like, super into anime and games and things I'm into, I don't think I would do it because that would change her too much as a person. She wouldn't be the girl I, like, fell in love with. She'd be a different person. And maybe that person would be great. Maybe that person would be fun to be around. Maybe I would like that person a lot too. Maybe. I don't know that for sure. What I do know for sure is that the girl that I know now, my girlfriend now, who I've been with for almost 10 years, I love deeply. And that's some real shit. So why would I risk the opportunity of changing her for the possible worst just because I think, oh, it'd be cool if we had the same interests? So you gotta compromise, dude. I feel like if you're mature enough to have a relationship, that shouldn't be an issue. Your significant other not liking anime or some shit like that. That should not be a problem, and it should never be a problem. If you're mature enough to have a relationship, or if you're in a relationship where that, like, you see it being long-term, you see it being real, you see you guys having a future together, that should be the furthest thing from your mind than not liking anime. Like, that should be, like, not even a factor. And yeah, it does relate to that whole stereotype thing, because the nerd community can be a bunch of hypocrites. I've been hypocrites about stuff, too. Like, I talked about the whole makeup thing. I was very hypocritical about makeup before. I was just like, oh, it's just makeup. And I would say the things like, oh, you look pretty, or with your makeup off, and shit like that. They don't want to hear that, because that's not why they're wearing makeup a lot of the time. Like, of course, they want to look cute and put on their makeup and look nice. They're not always doing it for you. Sometimes they do it for each other to, like, show off each other's makeup and have a good time and talk and have these conversations about different ways they do stuff. And it's interesting to them, and that's their community and their culture. Or they just do it for themselves because they think it's cool and it's an art form. And that's great. Like, and it is an art form. It is a whole thing. As I said before, like, I've seen it firsthand. This is some shit. I would never be able to do some shit like this. Not because, oh boy, I don't want to wear makeup. I don't have the talent for it, dude. People are like, oh, I don't have the talent for writing. It's just like, I feel like I do, and I feel like I built up. I'm not trying to brag, but I do have enough confidence in myself to say that I want to be a writer, and I write, and I like what I write, and I think I try my hardest, and I think I do a pretty good job at it. And a lot of people don't see themselves as writers, and they find it difficult to do certain things with writing stories that I find really easy. And this is no different with the makeup community. Like, people find that they can make an idea for, like, some kind of, like, makeup with a theme that they're gonna do on a daily basis, or, like, every few days. And it's just like, that's fucking crazy. I could never think of an idea unique and then go ahead and execute that shit and post it. like that, nah, not me. And that's different talents, bro. Same thing with music. People are musically gifted at playing the guitar. They can just naturally play the guitar. I could not play an instrument to save my fucking life. I have, like, semi-rhythm on the drums, and that's it. But I think I can rap pretty well, and I can write some lyrics, because I'm into poetry and writing stories and writing lyrics. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's it. That's what I wanted to say. I don't want to get off into rambling again. So, those are all three of my topics, plus some Pokemon. It's a good chunk of Pokemon for you. So that was 4 little topics today, and some Jump Force hate. So that was 5 little topics today. So we got into some stuff. We talked about a lot today, and I had a pretty fun time about it. So basically what I wanted to say about these 3 subjects is, if someone is on the outside looking at anime and stereotyping it and being ignorant about it for certain reasons, try to get them to understand by having them watch an anime that maybe that they're interested in, like something within the genre of things they watch or have interest in. Just like I said, the Black Hokage is an example, like the girl he was with who was hating on anime, liked a lot of psychological stuff and things of that nature, so he put her on Death Note, and she fucking loved it, and then asked for more anime recommendations. Do something like that, and even if maybe they still don't feel anime, at the very least they should understand why you do and why you are so passionate about it, because it's the same as people being passionate about a live-action show. And I've talked about it with my mom, and my mom's not an anime fan either, or a show fan, but she agrees people getting emotional about shows is all the same thing at the end of the day. It's a show. It's not real. So, it's all the same thing. You get emotional all about the same thing. So that's basically for that. Overhype, I feel like a lot of overhype now, using my Jump Force example, is a lot of, like, personal overhype, in that, not everything is super overhyped anymore. You gotta look at it and take in all the information and see if it's really overhyped or not, or if people are just overhyping themselves. And I feel like that's a deeper topic that'll be, that'll be brought up, maybe in a later podcast. Like, maybe we'll have a whole topic about the idea of hype. But I just wanted to go over some basics of it, just because I see a lot of people saying this is overhyped, and I'm like, there's no way in hell that every day there are 20 things that are overhyped. Like, that, some of this shit is not overhyped, guys. And then the whole thing, coming together with the whole dating someone outside of the anime community, same thing. Maybe try to get them in on your viewpoint, and if not, then at least they have the understanding of hype, and just finding out that if you're really mature enough to have this relationship or really want this relationship with this person, that it's not an issue. It's not a real issue. So, that was my little summary of today's events. I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast, or this week's podcast. Please follow our project page on Facebook. You will get updates to what the podcast topic will be, when the podcast drops. Sometimes I'll upload the podcast episodes directly onto the Facebook page. So, and also once Another Random Tale starts rolling back in strong, I'll have more updates coming for Another Random Tale, which is what the page is for. So that's kind of like the hub world for everything I'm doing. If you want to check that out, that's the Facebook page, Art Project. So go ahead, check that out, look it up. You'll find it pretty easily. The page's photo, like the profile picture, is a bunch of black people. Like a bunch of, characters. They're like black characters drawn, and like each one is on a different panel. In the center, it says Art Project in the center. And the cover photo is like a little forest kind of design that says Art Project across it. My girlfriend designed it, so big ups to her. So it's easy to find, you'll know. And then YouTube channel. I also upload the podcast episodes there. Maybe eventually I'll have like some vlogs of like when we actually start working on Another Random Tale. Maybe I'll have little clips of us just talking or bringing up ideas and shit like that. That's future planning though. That's some basic ideas I have for it. Right now we just have the podcast episodes uploaded on it. Not every episode. Episode 16 for some reason did not get uploaded. I'll try to find some way to put it up. But yeah, that's there with the other episodes, and that channel is also called Art Project, same thing, so easy to find. And the profile picture is just of one of those black characters, but you'll know. If you know the Art Project's Facebook page, you'll know the YouTube channel. So follow that, subscribe to that channel if you want to watch the podcast on there and support. Like the page for Art Project if you want to support the podcast, watch the episodes of the podcast on there, or listen to the episodes of the podcast on there, there's no video. And like the page for more Another Random Tale updates. And just like the podcast on here, follow the podcast on here. The more support I see, the more views I see, the more people following I see, the more it drives me to continue. And I love the feedback, any kind of feedback. If you have criticism, go for it. As long as you're just not here to like be negative and tear people down as people. If you have something to say that really can help me improve, I would love to hear it. I'm always trying to get better. Hopefully I'll get that new equipment early into 2020, bring the podcast up to the next level. Just want to say thank you guys for supporting. Next week is going to be episode 19. So we're getting close to episode 20. It was wild to think we're going to be having 20 episodes deep. But this outro has gone on for a while. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening, you guys. I hope you have a good Friday. I hope you enjoy your weekend. And I hope you have a good next week before we hit next week's 40 Ounce Fridays. What we'll be talking about, I don't fucking know, but we'll see. Alright, later.